guys, welcome back to another video. It is week 12 of college football. Let's get right into it with our first game, UCLA at USC. This is going to be at USC, and these are two teams who have really tough schedules so far this year. Most of the games that have been tough for them have not ended well for both of these teams. I have Caleb Williams leading the way, though, getting the win for the Trojans, 41-31. I got USC on top over UCLA. Next game, we have Kentucky at South Carolina, an SEC game. One of few SEC games this week. There's not a lot of great SEC games, but there is a lot of good games. And this is one of the SEC games at South Carolina. It could be tough for either team. Either team could come out with it, but South Carolina has not done a great job in the SEC so far. And I have Spencer Rattler struggles continuing, as I have Kentucky barely getting the win, 27-24, Wildcats on top. Next game, we have Washington at Oregon State. And Oregon State, DJ Ugo, whatever his name is, DJ, he has done a great job this year. I don't think much people have actually expected DJ to do this good this year. And if you're like, why aren't you saying his name? Go read his name. It's like DJ Uiagalelei. And this is versus Michael Penix Jr., an undefeated, great quarterback this year for a Heisman. He's a huge Heisman contender. And I would not be surprised if he won it. But he won last week versus Utah. I think one of those 2 weeks, Washington's going to lose one of those games. And that's exactly what I have. I got DJ Uiagalelei beating, or I should say upsetting, Washington. I have Oregon State getting the win, 29-24 in a very, very tight one. And next game, we have Florida at Missouri. Missouri, they had an incredible week last week, getting the win over Tennessee, 36-7. Man, oh man, and they lost last week, the week before that, to Georgia. But that's Georgia. And they just beat Tennessee. So they're kind of in the middle of that right now. And Georgia and Alabama both clinched. They're going to Atlanta, both of them. So this is just a game fun for us to watch versus Florida, who lost last week to LSU. I have Missouri getting the win 38-23. Missouri's offense is just too much for that Gator defense. I have the Tigers on top. Our next game, we have, this is Kansas State versus Kansas. This is going to be at Kansas in this one. Kansas, they got a couple impressive wins. They had an incredible win versus Oklahoma. And overall, just a great season for them. Past 2 years, including this year, have been great for Kansas. Huge step in their program versus Kansas State now. Kansas State, they were really good last year with Deuce Vaughn. That team was great. But Will Howard's still on the team. This isn't completely different of a team. I have Kansas State getting the win on the road, 30-27. I got the Kansas State Wildcats. Next game, we have Utah at Arizona. Arizona, they have done a great job this year as well. They are a top 20 team right now. I think in the AP poll they are at least. And this is going to be versus Utah, but Arizona's got this one at home. They beat Colorado last week. They're not a bad team at all. You shouldn't underestimate this team, especially Utah. You can't do that. This is a good team, and they got to pay attention to them. But I do have Utah getting a win 35-17. An explosive offense of Utah I think will be too much for Arizona to handle, as I have the Utes getting the win. Our next game is Louisville at Miami. Louisville, this in the AP poll they're ranked number 9, and you're probably wondering how in the world are they number 9? And the only reason I'm saying the AP poll is because the time I'm filming this video, the CIP rankings aren't out, and I can't wait long enough to wait for the college football playoff rankings to come out, and I gotta edit this video, which is tough. So that's why I have the AP poll teams, but Louisville and the AP poll, they are a top 10 team. It's because they're the last team in really the top 10, top 15 that have one loss, and they're probably the worst of all those teams. So that's why there's not much undefeated one-loss teams so far this year. There's not much of them. But back to the point, this is going to be on the road. The Louisville, we got Louisville and Miami. They have not had a great year compared to other years, so I have Louisville getting the win 34-20. I got Louisville. Next game, we have Wake Forest and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, Sam Hartman, I think he's been doing a pretty good job this year. Nobody expected him to do the playoffs, unless you're insane. But Notre Dame, they have a pretty different team with no Michael Mayer or Isaiah Foskey, who've now gone to the NFL. But versus Wake Forest, I think this should be an easy win for them. I got 41-20. I got the Fighting Irish getting the win. Next game, this is Georgia at Tennessee. And Tennessee, they lost last week to Missouri. That was embarrassing. And it's going to be in Knoxville. I'm pretty close from there. And Georgia, I think that them getting the win last week versus Ole Miss, that was not just a win. That was senior day. That was night game. That was top 10 versus top 10. This is another good game that Georgia needs to get. But they already have clinched themselves to Atlanta for the SEC championship. But if you lose this game, which pretty low chance, but still, if you lose this game, you can't lose to Bama or you're not making the playoffs. Which is, I think it's a really tough game. And then Tennessee, this game doesn't really matter for them. They're just trying to get higher bowls like they are doing every single year. And at the end of the day, Georgia, I think they'll overpower them with the second half. Tennessee, they'll go forward in the first half. I'm telling you, Georgia is a second half team. How many times do I have to say it to explain? Georgia loves to start off slow. Well, actually, they don't love to, but it looks like they do because they do to Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Auburn, Ole Miss, and they were tied with UAB in like the second quarter or something. They had 0 points first. I think it was Ball State in the first quarter. Like, come on now. I had Georgia there, 37-17. The Dogs will get back on track. Later on in the game, Brock Bowers doing the job. You love to see that dude back. Next game, we have North Carolina at Clemson. Clemson, they're a defensive team. North Carolina, they're an offensive team. As they put up 47 points, but their defense let up 45 points. First Duke, but they ended up getting the win. It was a great game for them last week. A night game. I stayed up till the very end because I love me some pointless ACC football. Because I just want to stay up late at night, not going to lie, and just watch some pointless football. Pretty fun. Entertaining. And then this is versus Clemson. I think this is going to be, is it at home? It's at home for Clemson. I think it's going to be a rowdy game. I have Clemson upsetting North Carolina 34-30. I got the Tigers on top. Our last game, it's Michigan at Maryland. Maryland, Tua's brother, and he'll be the quarterback for Maryland. This might be his last year. It's got to be his last year. He's been at Alabama or at Maryland for a long time. This has got to be his last year at Maryland. And for all I know, it could be senior day. And Michigan getting the win last week versus Penn State was huge for them. 24-15 over the Nittany Lions. I have Michigan destroying them 45-6, just about what everybody's expecting. Thank you guys for watching this Wiggins Football Productions video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.